Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Within minutes of the Parkland, Florida massacre, our media identified a villain. It wasn't the 19-year-old who actually pulled the trigger. CNN actually published a piece last night scolding the president for calling him crazy. That was a slur, according to them. No, the real killer, the media told us, was the NRA, along with millions of law-abiding gun owners. Blood was on their hands. Well, a few days later, now that we have some facts, it turns out it's not so simple. It turns out that government at all levels played a role in allowing this massacre to happen. In fact, a much larger role than we knew or ever would have guessed. The details are shocking. Here's part of what we've learned so far. The Broward County Sheriff's Office received at least 23 calls related to Nicholas Cruz and his family. In 2016, a deputy was told directly that Cruz was threatening to shoot up his school, the one he shot up, and had taken photographs of himself with firearms. That information was forwarded to Deputy Scott Peterson. That name sounds familiar. That is the exact security guard at Stoneman Douglas High School who hid outside during the shooting and refused to go inside as 17 people were murdered. Apparently doing nothing was a habit of Peterson's. President Trump weighed in on him today on his way to CPAC. Watch.
When it came time to get in there and do something, he didn't have the courage or something happened. But he certainly did a poor job. There's no question about that. He was there for 5 minutes. For 5 minutes. That was during the entire shooting. He heard it right at the beginning. So he certainly did a poor job. But that's a case where somebody was outside, they're trained, they didn't react properly under pressure, or they were cowards.
Scott Peterson may not have been the only coward on the scene. Brand new reports tonight suggest that 3 other Broward County deputies arrived at the school during the massacre but did not enter or attempt to pursue Cruz. Instead, they hid outside behind their vehicles until Coral Springs police officers arrived and found them. Inaction appears to be a defining quality in the Broward County Sheriff's Office. Last November, Broward County was warned that Cruz was a school shooter in the making and was collecting weapons with which to do it. They didn't even write a report on the tip, and instead they told the tipster to report Cruz to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. That's how local police responded, or didn't respond. The state wasn't much better. Later in 2016, despite evidence of suicidal behavior by Cruz and his expressed desire to buy a firearm, the Florida Department of Children and Families decided that somehow he was not a threat to himself or others. If they decided otherwise, Cruz would have been involuntarily committed and would have been barred from buying a gun. So in case you're wondering, how was this guy able to buy a gun? That's how. And then there's the FBI, the feds. In September 2017, the FBI was warned that a YouTube user named Nicholas Cruz, spelled correctly, had written this, quote, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." He wrote that online. The FBI now says that was not enough information to identify who made that remark, and they were unable to investigate, despite the fact that Cruz gave his real name spelled in the unusual way that it is spelled. In January 2018, the FBI was warned again that Cruz was planning to shoot up a school and were given specific information about his erratic behavior, his gun collecting, his expressed desire to kill people. He did not hide that. The tipster warned that Cruz was, quote, going to explode, and worried it was just a matter of time before he, quote, was in a school and shooting the place up. The caller also told the FBI that she made the call because she wanted a, quote, clear conscience if he takes off and just starts shooting places up. In response, the FBI did nothing. They didn't even bother to forward that tip to their Miami field office, so it died. The school system failed as well, and badly. In 2013, school officials decided to radically cut down on in-school arrests, claiming that school discipline was racially biased. The school simply stopped referring students to police for assault and drug use and numerous other crimes, actual crimes. Total arrests declined from more than 1,000 a year to fewer than 400. So in spite of getting in trouble with school authorities repeatedly, Cruz was never arrested, he was never charged, never convicted, never stopped from buying a gun. The schools failed, the local police failed, the Florida state bureaucracy failed, the officer on duty failed, the FBI failed. The government's first duty is protecting its citizens. They failed. Ultimately, citizens have to defend themselves. The message could not be clearer, and yet the same government officials who failed to protect us are saying we don't have a right to protect ourselves.